So we could have the same meat with three different wines and get three really different, but also lovely experiences.
Welcome to the second episode of the 12 Days of Christmas Joy interview series. You are in the right place if you love food and need some inspiration and joy in your life. You have the power to shape the world around you, and one of the ways you can do this is by choosing how you spend your money. If you're interested in how your food is produced and supporting small artisan food producers that have a positive impact on the environment, then this is the episode for you. Today, I'm really excited to be interviewing Alex Mugan from Bray Cured. Hello, Alex. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hello, Becky. Very nice to be here. Thanks for inviting us.
Oh,
Lovely.
you're very, very welcome. I'm a keen supporter of small artisan food producers, and I love to showcase, businesses like yours. And for businesses like Bray Cured to thrive and grow and to continue producing amazing, delicious, high quality food, supporting you is the best thing we can do. So you then produce all this wonderful food, which makes me really happy. So yeah.
That's great. I like the afternoon tea connection as well. So I think we're quite one of the things that we find with charcuterie is that we're often confined to the grazing board when we could be enjoyed in a variety of settings, including afternoon tea. I think if we were,
Oh, that's really interesting. Yes, of course, because it's all those little sort of canapé kind
yeah,
of.
yeah, it makes amazing pinchos and canapés and tiny sort of little sandwiches and all kinds of fun to be had repurposing
Yeah.
charcuterie in afternoon
Oh,
tea.
so I can get some ideas from you how to expand my recipes
Yeah,
and menus. Absolutely. So let me tell everyone a little bit about you, Alex. So you've been crafting charcuterie since 2008 when you were briefly a chef.
very
While
briefly.
very was it?
I think lasted cleaning especially was too much,
Oh,
which is given how much cleaning we do around here. Um, but yeah, late night cleaning really wasn't my thing.
yeah. So
That's
you
all.
moved from Accrington to Lancashire, from
Yeah,
Accrington in Lancashire to London, and that finished your kitchen career. But
it
your love of charcuterie survived in the way of a hobby, and it sounds like this increasingly overtook your life.
yeah,
And
it's a chaotic hobby to have. Yeah,
then,
very high maintenance, lots of monitoring temperatures and humidities, and wondering where you're going to put unusual quantities and types of meat and things.
yeah, yeah. And then in 2021, your business was started, Bray Cured, and you
Mhm.
focus on creating charcuterie with local inspiration and real provenance, winning
Yes.
15 Great Taste Awards for
Yeah.
products, including your local beef, pork, venison, and hogget. And Alex and Bray Cured are recognised as rising stars in the firmament of the British charcuterie scene. So,
Great.
congratulations on all of your awards, Alex. That's amazing. How did you discover your passion for creating and making charcuterie?
I think so. How I got into cooking was sort of being self-taught. So I was able to discover the things that I liked, and it kind of came about through that. But the thing that I really like about it, you sort of get a bit of. For me, there was a little bit of a light bulb moment with preparing charcuterie. It's the alchemy of it. So we work with amazing produce, but really simple produce. And with the process that we do, we transform the really simple produce into something that is um, different. It's outside of most people's experience of how to make it, which is something that we also try and correct. We teach a lot of charcuterie making on experience days, so we like to kind of reverse that and put it back into people's experience. But when you're transforming simple ingredients into charcuterie, and it's salt and it's herbs and it's spices, and you do it with your hands. So you are transforming physically the ingredient, whether it's a pork loin or whether it's mince that's going to go into salamis. you're actively transforming that into this thing which you get out later and people go, wow. That experience is what got me coming back to charcuterie over and over again. It's that feeling as you make that transformation and then give people something that they love is the exact feeling. And you still get that with the business, which is a nice thing. A lot of that's been retained in the work that we do. So it's a very nice thing that initial experience is still an everyday thing.
Yeah, you're still even though your business is growing, you're still able to maintain the essence
Yeah,
of it.
absolutely. So artisan charcuterie making is, I think that the phrase kind of handmade is way overused. When we've got like massive companies telling us that they hand select produce, it's like, what do you mean you select it? Because the hand thing's a bit redundant. But when we talk about hand making, like everything got done by hand. Every joint that gets sliced has been hand prepared through each stage of its process, and you've got your hands on it multiple times through that process as well. Different stages of what we do, from the initial curing to the preparing to hang, to the hanging, the cutting down. People have got hands on that product at every stage in the process. I kind of deeply get into the root of like what is artisanal. It's the work of your hands. And yeah, there's no real way to do what we do at scale, like at a bigger scale. The scale above what we do is enormous, like massive, massive, massive. I really don't see that changing anytime soon in the UK. This type of thing produced in the UK is always going to be deeply artisanal, very, very hands-on, which is cool.
Yeah, so tell me, for somebody who doesn't really know much about, what it takes to take a piece of meat to your final, can you give us like a bit of an overview of like how it
I mean,
works?
this is a freebie on an experience day. This is how I make my living, but I do the very potted version. So you start off, you've got to source some really good meat, because you're not able to turn stuff that isn't great into stuff that's great. So you have to source some really good meat, which you can do via a good butcher, or you can go straight to the primary producer like we do. You've got some butchery to do. So when you're getting started, you don't have to be a master butcher to do it. You can kind of skip to the curing stage, but we take a lot of time over how everything is trimmed up to make it consistent, and so it works really well through the rest of the process. So our master butcher, Dave, leads that, and everything will be kind of pristine by the time we get to the curing. Curing is mostly about salt. Salt, human beings putting meat in salt is as old as human beings, as a kind of building block of the preservation that we do. And we always say that charcuterie is kind of about three things. One is preservation. Another one is using up every scrap of the produce that's available. And the third thing is improving the taste of it. Sometimes just because it's nice to do, sometimes because some of those scraps that you've got to use up need some improvement. And the best example of that I can think of is haggis, where you're taking like the very last of the scraps, turning it into something lovely. And that's charcuterie. And the kind of main building block of all of that is salt. So salt and spices and herbs and maybe wine onto the meat will do that job of preserving it. You preserve it for a period of time, take it out, and then you're air drying it in the right condition. So humidity and temperature are controlled, and we dry it really kind of long and slow. So there are all kinds of different cured meats and cured fish. From things that go into pickle, they get cured quick and then pickled. Stuff like biltong or jerky, dried quicker at a higher temperature, reflects the environment that those were invented in, where you haven't got a lot of time to get stuff preserved. And then you've got the stuff that we tend to do, which is the kind of Mediterranean tradition, but with the British ingredients. And with us, it's all about kind of long, slow drying periods and maturation to build up flavour in the product. Once it's dried and it's reached where we want it to reach, we'll slice it very, very thin. And then it's packed and sent out to lovely customers.
Brilliant. So you mentioned that you do experience days and sort of workshops for people. So if people are interested in this, they can come and book a day with you on your website?
Absolutely. Yeah, we do. And we try and we segment cut what we do into different types of experiences. So if you want to make chorizo and salami, you can do that. If you want to do bacon and sausage making, you can do that. If you want to learn more like butchery, so starting with a whole deer or a whole sheep and getting down to the butchery products and the charcuterie products, that's another one. And then there's also one about doing sort of nose to tail charcuterie with a whole duck, which is the first thing I ever cured was duck. It was a Raymond Blanc recipe for making duck ham that left you with the rest of the duck. And so an early challenge was, what are we going to make with the rest of this duck? And you can get to about sort of 8 different charcuterie products, like charcuterie in the really broad sense. So there's prosciutto type stuff, the air dried ham, through to stock and rillettes and pate and all that kind of stuff. So there's a course where we show you how to do a kind of nose to tail thing in a kitchen with the duck, which is a cool thing too. That duck, the first thing, that whole thing went to people as Christmas.
Wow,
it's kind of
amazing.
Why I got into this. It's like, make you a nice thing.
Yeah. So I'll put all those details in the script under this video. So if anybody is interested in finding out more, then they can just click through to your website and find out more. Yeah. And it sounds like that, that connection with our food is really important to you, because we can feel quite distanced from that sometimes, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's part of what customers buy into when they buy into a producer like us, and loads of good producers like us. We're in a really nice area of the country for those types of artisan producers across all types of products. And what you get kind of inbuilt with a product like ours is traceability. So, it's easy to get back to the farms and the breeds and the conditions for the animals, and whether we want to support heritage breeds that have been a long time in the country and all that. It kind of comes with the territory. I wouldn't say that I'm food more than I am sustainability. We have some people in the company who are the other way around. They're really kind of sustainability first. But you can't do this kind of artisan produce without high levels of traceability. And if there was a conscious thing for us, it was about how, if we're going to make this type of product in the UK, it needs to speak to the UK. So that sometimes means, the choices of things like the wines that we use. So we don't use anything other than English wine from the nearest vineyard to us in all the salamis, in all the brasaulas. And it's to make sure that we have a taste of where we are. So that's the breed, that's the flavor influences. Our stuff is more strongly flavored. I think that's maybe another thing about stylistic thing about UK charcuterie. We like more complicated flavors. There are some people that I just want to taste the pork like it maybe is in parts of France. Like, it's always very stripped back and very simple. Okay, go to France. Like we embrace complicated flavor profiles and unusual things, and we're culinary magpies, and that gets reflected in the type of stuff that we make too.
Yeah, so it's a very creative process. It sounds like,
Yeah, it's great. New recipes are always a lot of fun. We run about 20 recipes all the time, but there are always seasonal things and there are always specials. We have a few hundred subscribers who are getting stuff from us every month. We have to keep making new stuff for them. So and they get exposed to the newest tests first, and yeah, that's fun. Sometimes you're starting almost with a thesaurus, like what can we pair with what and where's a jumping off point. Sometimes we start with we've kind of pilfered recipes off local restaurant menus, nice ways of dealing with venison. Okay, let's repurpose that into a cure. It's come from all kinds of stuff. A lot of the sheep stuff is based on the wild herbs that are present in the meadows that they graze. So, we were able to get a list of, what are the plants that grow in this meadow from the landowner, and then find the ones of that will blend into a nice cure. So yeah, you've got lots of different ways where you can come up with ideas, and it is a process and a product that lends itself to having a play and being creative.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really lovely. And so we are just about, we're in December, so Christmas is just around the corner. Do you have any sort of top tips of how to put like a charcuterie platter together, maybe for your buffet table for Christmas, or do you have any guidelines that you always stick to?
Yeah. So I mean, we didn't create these guidelines ourselves. We work with a lot of restaurants and delis, and quite often they're putting together mixes, and we're doing that for them here. So this is kind of, I guess, crowdsourced community guidelines. Um, but generally, we'd say, work off sort of 3 or 4 meats, and you'd be looking to balance up things like whole muscle with things like salami. So maybe two and two, or one of one and two of the other, whole muscle and salami. So your whole muscle stuff's your hams and brassolas, poppers and lomos, and your salamis or chorizo type things, you know what they are. Um, that also gives you a nice balance between leaner stuff and fattier stuff. So you might start thinking, well, if we want something lean that everybody's going to like, whether they like fat or not, then let's get a brasola on there. Then if the other whole muscle can be a little bit more luxurious and a little bit fattier, then go for a copper or a lomo. If I was just going off what's really popular, get a beef brasola on there because everybody loves beef. I mean, as Brits, we love beef, and brasola looks like rare roast beef, so you won't be short of takers for that. Go for a copper, getting super, super popular, the pork shoulder one. And then salami wise, you can't go wrong with something like a wild garlic salami. Fennel, some people adore it, and some people are a little bit funny about fennel. But get a pork salami, and then get something unusual. Get a venison salami, or get a hoggy sheepy salami, or something like that, or a nice kind of slicing pepperoni to round it off.
Yeah.
Then cheeses and pickles and things. But we never found a cheese that didn't work with charcuterie or pickles. Pickles are amazing. You just do what you like, because
Yeah.
everything works. And then wine as well. I think we've done quite a lot of work on pairing drinks with charcuterie, and the only kind of guidance we'd have for that is, if you're going to go for wine, do what you like. Just serve whatever you enjoy, because every wine changes every charcuterie that you put it with. But way more often than I don't think we've ever found a really bad pairing of wine and charcuterie. Everything just worked different. So we could have the same meat with 3 different wines and get 3 really different, but also lovely experiences. Beer is another thing. Beer you have to be a little bit careful with, because certain flavor profiles in the beer work really nicely, and other ones are a bit much alongside each other. And you sort of go with beer, go along the lines of, like, lighter, fizzier stuff works with lighter, spicier meats. So if we were on like pork loin, something like that, get a lager or get a blonde ale. Stuff in the middle, kind of mid-colored stuff. So sheepy salamis, or some of the pork salamis too. Some of the brasolas are the ones that tend to work well with red ales and dark ales, so proper kind of English ale type stuff in there. And then venison is amazing with stout. Hair venison with stout, and you have fun with that too. But don't cross that over too much, because you will end up with some raw pairings if you mess around with the beers. Or do, if you enjoy that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like you say, at the end of the day, it's about what you like, isn't it? Just have your favorite things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's your because I love Christmas food, like you mentioned, like seasonal food. And I think it's really nice way to mark the passing of the seasons, or going through the year with the food, the seasonal food. And so I love Christmas food. Do you have a favorite sort of Christmas dish that you always have in your family or at Christmas time?
Um, I feel like uh, the one thing that I really like, and it's not cured meat, to be honest. So it's a bit of a strange departure, but there's smoked salmon on little bits of blini or something, like with the first drink of the day. That's kind of probably my favorite moment, probably because I'm hungry at that point, and it's an excuse to have some fizz in the morning. So like that is probably my, like, okay, Christmas food has really started.
Yeah.
That would be the moment for me. Although I am actively encouraging people to stop eating smoked salmon and swap it for beef brasola or something like that. So maybe I
Yeah,
need to put order on doing that in my own. House.
absolutely. You could try half and half or something to start off
Yeah,
with,
maybe that'd be the way to do it. Yeah.
and see how it went down. That's a lovely idea. Oh, thank you so much, Alex. I've really enjoyed talking to you today. It's been so interesting. And I'm going to put all of your details and your social media and your website below, so people can contact you and find you if they want to order some of your amazing
Very
charcuterie.
kind of you, and they'd be very welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a lovely Christmas.
Thanks, you too, Becky.